Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Otakuology Podcast. I'm your host, Otaku Mike, and with me as always is Jin. He might have a new hobby in brewing beers, Graves. And today we're
Yeah, I
talking
might.
about King of the Hill, Season 14, Episode 2, The Beer Story. We have melded Jin's two favorite hobbies together, King of the Hill and podcasting, just like Hank does with propane and beer.
I really want to know
Uh-huh.
what it was like at the end of this, how if they both meshed well. But let's get into it.
All right, let's get into it.
So we have where we have kind of like a blast from the past back in the day of what would Hank do before, and we see where he would basically like go to the garage and like sit at his desk and do something like, I don't know, something that's not productive at all.
Like checking batteries, organizing his tools.
Yeah. And it's really weird to see that, since there was like a good time we would see him like go work on something.
Uh-huh.
And then I never really sat there and thought like, hey, that was probably also like majority of what it was. We were probably just seeing the episodes where he actually did do something.
Yeah. And within this episode, it starts out with Peggy telling Hank, hey, you can go back to sleep. You don't have to wake up at the crack of dawn. And he's like, that's for Nepo babies.
Yeah.
Or something
I was like, oh no. Hank, how do you know what a Nepo baby is?
He was like, I'm not going to waste my life like a Nepo baby. Yeah. I was like, what the fuck?
Right? I was laughing my ass off on that one.
Yeah, it's funny to see Hank like try to fill his time with different things because he feels like he's wasting his time basically doing nothing productive.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have a job anymore. You know, he has to stay home with Peggy, and God knows how crazy she's driving Hank, up a wall with all her weird stuff she does and her naked cooking survival show she watches,
Yeah.
But Hank's doing stuff. What was he watching on the TV?
He was watching, because remember Peggy used to watch it.
Uh-huh.
It was called like something in Spanish, Mangel priest or something.
Uh-huh.
I can't remember, but it was like a priest that like went around. It's kind of like I think it's Once Upon a Time in Mexico.
Yeah,
that's kind of what it was, but he was a priest, and so Peggy like used to watch it a lot, and so now Hank is sitting in his armchair, like sitting there watching this movie, and it's kind of weird because like we've talked about it, like with the last episode, like what's the rise and fall of different things with Hank.
Yeah,
and so like where before he would try and seem like he was more productive, now it was like, hey, I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna watch this movie.
Yeah, he was watching a TV show and they rebooted it. Well, now it's his kid getting revenge for his dad's death, which ends up leaving one of the funniest jokes, I feel like, in this season, to where Peggy is like, that man just said he's going to kill their entire family. And Hank's like, he wished them a happy holiday.
Yeah.
And she was like, no, that's completely wrong. And he's like, it's subtitled.
Yeah.
Which proves the fact that she does not know anything whatsoever.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. It was one of those like little Easter eggs that we just knew, like,
yeah,
kind of how BS Peggy is, I guess.
Yeah, no, for sure. Most definitely. And so Hank's like, I gotta go. I think, doesn't Peggy send him to get a new bath mat?
I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
And then he ended up finding like the brewer's thing, whatever the rod is.
Oh, the brewing kit. He found the home brewing kit is what he found.
Yeah. So he's like, let's do it.
which is sponsored by Chuck Mangione and Snoop Dogg. And I still
Yeah.
love the fact that Megalomart's employees are worse than they were before.
Yeah.
Now they can only look up stuff on their like devices, which is
Yeah.
very similar to sort of like a Target or Walmart you would walk into, you know, when you're looking for
I mean,
something.
I feel like that's almost like every store.
Yeah. Which I was like, huh. Yeah, that's pretty relevant right there, I feel like. Pretty
Yeah.
relevant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially as like the turnover rate for most jobs now. That's what it feels like for that, because we are having where people aren't necessarily like knowing that like they were before, because like, okay, this is going to be an old story, but I used to go to like Home Depot with my dad, and
Yeah.
you could walk up to some of those guys and be like, hey, where's blah 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 at? And they were like, oh, that's going to be down on aisle 16, you're going to go about midway, on your left.
Yeah.
And like, you'd walk over there and maybe it was like a specific kind of nail or a drill bit or something, like, so like, weird, inconceivable that somebody would know this particular thing, and they would be able to tell you that. And then to have this part now, which I understand what you're talking about, because I've asked people and they pull up the device and I'm like, can you not like just walk me over there? Like, I can look that part up on my phone. Hey, this is going to be in this section. Da 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 da. What if I don't want that? What if I want to know where this thing is and you to show me? Because maybe I've already walked over there. So I thought it was.
So Bobby and Joseph end up actually going back to Arlen, and they bring their clothes with them because I guess it's a thing that they go wash their clothes at their parents' house. Did you ever do that when you were in college or not in college?
Nope.
No, I did it. I did it a couple times, so it's not nothing like that's not weird. I feel like I don't know, but I found it.
No.
Go
The
ahead.
only thing close like that I ever did is like one of my parents lives in a different state. Would be like I'd go up there, and while we were there, they'd wash the clothes.
And so
But
Bobby comes back, which Bobby keeps telling his mom that his washing machine's broken.
yeah,
Do you think it's to do so Peggy can do his laundry?
probably.
Probably.
Because now that they're back, I don't see him doing that unless he took it to like a laundromat. I mean, maybe
Yeah.
maybe that's how he was doing it before, because we haven't necessarily seen Bobby's apartment yet.
Not in this episode. Not in
Yeah.
this episode. I think in like the next episode, maybe we might see his apartment.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly, to be honest. But Bobby is there to visit and do laundry and stuff, and Hank shows up with his like brewing wand or whatever it was. I forget what it was called.
I think that's what it is, the brewing one.
And he's talking, and Peggy's like, "Oh, maybe Bobby and you can, do this hobby together and stuff." And uh, we find out that Bobby knows a lot about brewing beer
Yeah, he
and
does.
making beer, probably because like he learned about it when I don't know if he went to any like culinary schools or like he just learned it while like doing like cooking and stuff.
Yeah.
But he starts telling Hank, like, oh, beers needs a story. Beers are more about like basic beers now. Beers have like different flavors, different ingredients, stuff like that. Which Bobby kind of sounds a little like, I don't want to say like condescending, or maybe like a little bit of a know it all.
Yeah.
Kind of how Hank used to be when Bobby was younger, it seemed like.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Which was a really interesting dynamic, I think.
Yeah. I also found it kind of weird how like Bobby said that he already had like however many, like beers that they already had.
Yeah.
And I was like, why wouldn't he have tried to enter one of those,
True, but maybe he didn't make the beer himself.
That's true.
Which Hank is Hank's like, they're talking and stuff, and they kind of like reluctantly agree to have to work on this beer. And Peggy is really, really pushing for Peggy Ale, is what she wants them to call it. Like,
Yeah.
she's like, you need to fucking call it this. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And they agree, and they go out there and they start talking and stuff, and they get into a little argument. And Bobby is like, your beer needs to be like this and this, your beer is old and outdated. And Hank's like, okay, well, let's go see what the guys think. And what do the guys think, Jen?
The guys think that it is actually really good. Like, even better than Alamo.
Except for Joseph and Bobby.
Right.
They think the beer's shit.
Yeah.
I think he said like it's less than an alley beer, I think is what he said.
Yeah, like later on.
Yeah, and then we ended up getting this weird subplot, but it's a funny subplot of Boomhauer giving his girlfriend's son non-alcoholic beer, which was hysterical to see.
Yeah.
Hysterical.
And then to see him and the kids later on, where they're like, oh man, and was it Peggy that called him and was like, did you know that the boys out there getting like drunk or whatever off of
non-alcoholic beer?
Yeah. And it was like he's forming an addiction to non-alcoholic beer, and you're like, what?
Which is funny because like Bill kind of does the same thing a little bit when he's drinking the non-alcoholic beer.
Yeah.
We always know Bill has like addictive personality and stuff, which is a funny subplot, like with Boomhauer and his girlfriend's kid, because all little. What's his name? Like Jerry Jr., I think his name was. I don't remember what his name was.
Yeah, I think that's it.
All he wants is for Boomhauer to think he's cool, which I was like, oh, that's kind of sad a little bit, like little Jerry just wants to hang out with Boomhauer.
Yeah,
because he doesn't know anything about. I don't know if you know. I don't know how long they've been dating or whatever, but they seem to be around each other a lot.
Yeah.
Like where's his mom?
I don't know, because we also haven't seen her at all.
Like, what's his mom doing? We've only seen her in the intro. Is she working a lot?
When they're walking by or whatever.
Yeah, is she like working a lot? Is Boomhauer like just playing babysitter? I really hope they explore that later on, like in like a season 15.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that would be really interesting.
And see what it turns into.
Yeah, definitely see what it turns into. Because all we know of Boomhauer is that he's a ladies' man.
That's true.
But Bobby and Joseph say this beer sucks, and it's not like what did they say? Possum urine is better than this beer. Is what they said.
Yeah,
I believe.
And then of course we have Dell that leans over and is like, I can definitely tell you that is not true.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. That's for sure. And Bobby's like, well, we're going to make our own beer and put it in the Dallas competition because Hank believes he can win the beer competition himself because Hank is supposedly the best at doing everything. Even though he's getting these high praises from his friends, which I feel like once you get into a real competition is where like things really get going. And like Hank's in the small leagues right now, and he thinks he's I think he's a little too big for his britches, to be honest.
Yeah, which I thought it was pretty weird. Like we didn't get to see any more on any of that other stuff with how the beers went because they both at the end of it were like, oh yeah, no, we're both falling out, and you're like, oh crap.
Yeah, which we get this awesome montage of both of them brewing and stuff, and learning and doing different formulas and like concoctions and stuff. And we end up finding out that they are very much like the same when it comes to this. So, like studying and perfecting their craft and stuff, which is a really interesting, like nice like juxtaposition, I feel like, in a sense, like it kind of brings them together, I feel like, in a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which it's funny to see, which we get up towards the end of this, to where Hank ends up like changing stuff, and um, the guys don't really like it, even though they convinced him to change stuff. And then we get to the point where Chang and his friends end up, getting Bobby to change his original formula, and how that starts affecting everything. One little subplot that I really, really liked was Dale and Joseph getting the same idea to basically blackmail the judges and start to gather evidence on them, which was hysterical to see, like how they both definitely like acted. Like Joseph acts like Dale sometimes.
I think Joseph is better than Dale.
at his subterfuge or whatever it is.
Yeah. And I only say that because like we had Dale, like how he usually does, where if he gets caught, he's just like, "Oh, I'm not here." And he just kind of runs around like yelling or whatever. But like we saw that whole part where Joseph was sitting there and he rolled and like a bag came out. So he looked like a trash bag. And I was like, what in the fuck?
I have to say that.
Why didn't Dale do anything like that?
That animation sequence was incredible.
Yes, it was.
To watch him like tuck and roll and he brings out a bag and becomes a bag of trash. Which we end up finding out, like, Dale can't find anything on this guy because Joseph dug everything out of the trash.
Yeah.
Which was hysterical. Joseph was a one-upped him, basically. And he was like, "Oh, I'm so proud of you for doing this." And they have this, like, funny little, like...
Let me ask you a question, though. So, like, when we're actually at the competition, and you have where Dale says, what if I had kidnapped a dog from one of the judges?
He does.
And all that jazz. And then the other one was Joseph, and he said, what if I found trash on two judges being together, even though they're married?
Yeah.
Do you think because of what we saw that it was the judge that looks like you and the other one? Like it's a homosexual rendezvous?
I mean, possibly. I don't remember what judge he got the stuff from.
Well, I was only thinking because we saw when he said it that he looked at the other judge, which is like a Hispanic guy, and he kind of like cowered a little bit and covered his face. The judge guy did, but like the whole time we know that Joseph was there with Dale.
Yeah.
So it was like
it's possible he could have got it, like because Dale ends up stealing the dog of like one of the judges, and gives it back to him and says that Hank found it, kind of like to like get into their good graces. And Joseph is straight up blackmailing somebody.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, good on you, Joseph, for blackmailing somebody, which I love the different sides to this approach to making beer.
Yeah.
And whatnot, and how Chang and his friends think and versus how Dale and the other guys think, and how Hank and Bobby just kind of bend to their whims. Because they're so like determined to like win at this point, Yeah. And it's funny when we get to the competition where like they're both right next to each other and there's like definitely this like rivalry and stuff. And Hank starts to like basically like they're like, "Oh, you don't have a story for your beer," and he starts making up this like story about like fresh cut grass, that's the Texas way, blah blah blah, baseball, I don't know, grilling, and the guy's just like not buying it. And, and Hank basically is like, I really wanted to do this because it melds my two hobbies together.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do it so bad. And I had the opportunity to do it with my son. And I basically blew it. So
Yeah.
I am forfeiting this competition, which I thought it would be interesting if Bobby did not do that. And Bobby just like went for it.
So the ending turned out way different than what I thought.
Yeah. No, for sure. For sure.
Because, like he did all that. And I really felt like what should have happened. And I'm going to say should. It wasn't written in that we know of.
Yeah.
But I really feel like Chang could have stood up and gone, well, I'm not taking this beer out of the competition. Let's keep going. And like kind of put Bobby on the back burner of it.
Which is true.
But of course it didn't happen.
Yeah, it doesn't happen. Bobby basically is like, I'm with him. I'm taking my beer out of this competition because, it's not what he really wanted to. I felt like probably, like he probably just wanted to spend time with his dad, which we've had several moments like that in King of the Hill.
Yeah. Well, and I think we're at that point now, like the bonding is kind of weird because, Hank has always been like self-proclaimed to himself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I get you.
Like he's always done it and things like that. And he's the one that's taught Bobby. And in this episode, we kind of see more that, Bobby knew kind of all this other stuff and was really trying to like teach Hank about it. And Hank's still like this kind of old gruff guy on, well, I'm learning it myself and then I can give you the wisdom. Yeah. Not that Bobby already has it, but because we've had Bobby grow up already, there wasn't anything where we had to worry about on that because Bobby's like, I know how to stand on my own 2 feet. Like you might still sit here and try and baby me, but
we're not doing that.
I still have all done this,
Yeah, and
so it's just kind of like, getting your parent to acknowledge you.
Yeah, and I feel like that's what Bobby wanted. Bobby wanted to be acknowledged by Hank that, hey, I can do just as good as you, or even better. Which I have to agree with you. I thought maybe Bobby was going to go all the way and try to win.
Yeah.
To prove Hank wrong. But when you suggested that Chang would step in, I kind of felt like that might have been like the better outcome.
Yeah.
I like the outcome that we get in this. I think the outcome we get in this is very King of the Hill.
Yeah. And I mean, you've already finished the series, right?
Yeah.
So, like, if you hadn't done that yet, so I can ask this question, I guess. I would feel like since Chang and his dad had went out of their way to buy the stuff to brew the beer, that because of Bobby doing that, if the beer didn't go all the way through, that would have suffered. Bobby would have suffered repercussions with the restaurant because of it.
Yeah, which their restaurant agreement is really fucking weird. When we get into it later, like Bobby basically like he's like he runs the chef part of this, but like Chang supposedly runs like the rest of it, which is I guess is like the promotion and stuff like that, but he doesn't really do anything. Bobby does everything.
Yeah.
And it's just an interesting like dynamic they have going on there, I feel like. And we'll get into that later on. Like how Chang's like just a fucking dickwad of a person. Like I don't feel like Chang has changed at all.
I feel like he's changed. I feel like he's just become more of a dick.
Yeah, and I hope he gets like a overarching story, maybe, and we see things differently, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, because I feel like Chang rode more on his own waves of doing things. Like even though his parents pushed him kind of into it, I feel like he rode his own waves more than that. But I also feel like now he feels like his dad's money is his money. Does that make sense?
No, yeah, it does. Because like even when Bobby was talking to them, like, "Hey, I want to enter a beer into the competition." Chang's like, "Oh, they won't go with somebody like you. They need somebody like me." successful, good looking, and like Chang kind of rides Bobby's coattails a little bit in this, and like is like, okay, yeah, if you do this, it'll help the business or whatever. It'll help the restaurant. That's the only reason why like Chang and his dad get involved in this.
Yeah,
is because they're fucking driven by money, and Bobby's very much driven by like he wants people to have like a good time and a good experience. He wants to cook people like really good food and stuff, which is which we'll get into it later on within the season. Like they butt heads quite a bit.
Him and Chang,
Chang and his dad and Bobby, like with how the restaurants run and stuff.
Yeah,
like
Well, and we kind of already saw that too a little bit. Like Bobby had like food out there to be prepared or whatever, and Chang just started putting his hands on all of it. And I'm like, that's not really sanitary.
No, it's not sanitary at all.
So,
but we get to the end. We get to the end of this episode where Bobby and Hank are sitting in the backyard, and Bobby's like, I learned this trick from, I forget who it was, like a chef or something. And he's like, you chill your glasses and you pour your beer into the glass to serve your beer. And like, he's like, this is the beer that I originally wanted to give before everybody told me to change it. And Hank was the same. He was like, this is the beer that I wanted to give before everybody wanted me to change it. And they both try their respective beers.
Yeah.
Which is a really nice scene, of them bonding. They both still hated it, which I thought was funny.
See, here's the weird thing, though. Like, coming full circle, and I don't think a lot of people really think about it until, like, after I say this. But the weird bonding part of this, I don't think was the beer. It was how you keep the beer good.
Yeah.
Because remember, they were sitting there eating, and even though they were jabbing at each other, Hank said, the only thing a beer really needs as a companion is a cold fridge.
Yeah.
And then it's coming full circle because now we are getting that whole thing. Instead of the beer where they're bonding and Bobby showing Hank something, it is Bobby showing Hank, hey, if you put your glass in there, you can have a chilled cup and have your beer in that.
Yeah, it might,
and it was really weird, like, thinking about it. Like, that made that whole little scene come full circle on that whole part. So it's really weird that we ended up talking about beer and stuff, and yet at the end, it was like, it seemed like it was never about beer at all. It was how to keep your beer cool.
Yeah, and also about, like, they both love beer,
Yeah, yeah. And then, of course, like, the thing that reiterated kind of like the family point was Peggy.
Oh,
and being like, I think I like them both. And then she goes, look, I'm a mixologist. And she starts pouring the beers together. And you're like,
and they're like, yeah, that's how it works, Peggy.
And
okay.
I was waiting for, and I really wish that they had done it. I know it would have taken away, or that the producers would have thought that it took away from the thing. But I really thought when they zoomed back over to Bobby and Hank that they would have like kind of poured into each other's glasses.
Oh.
And it would have been that weird, like, oh my God, like, the combined beers was better than the separate.
Yeah, maybe.
And I think that would have been a better ending for it, but of course we didn't get that.
I mean, I still enjoyed this episode quite a bit.
Yeah.
Regardless. Yeah. Like, I thought this was a very fun, well-written episode. I liked all the callbacks to each of them, when, Bobby was growing up and stuff like that, and like how like the tables have kind of turned in a sense, and it was just seeing them like come together and bond over something that they both really like.
Yeah.
Which is beer, which is a really nice thing, I feel like. It was just a very solid King of the Hill episode, which is interesting because like the first episode was so like front loaded with having to like bring everybody back up to speed and stuff. Like it just felt like a nice episode, a nice competitive episode between a father and his son, even though nobody won.
Yeah. It was kind of weird.
I mean, I feel like we will get to the point now nobody would have won anyways.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I think it would have been funny at the end to have that realization, like if they both poured into each other's glasses and they both drank it, and like we kind of got that little like shock moment, and like
Yeah.
if both of them would have went, like if we would have worked together and we would have taken both these ideas, we could have made a beer better than the two that they made, and probably like took the gold, like if they had that realization
Yeah.
of working together. But like I said,
Uh-huh.
that's not what we got.
So
So
let me ask you, have you watched the entire season, the new
I
season?
haven't. I
You
haven't.
haven't?
Yeah.
Have you watched the next episode?
No.
Okay. Well, I feel like your opinions might change moving forward with the next episode,
Yeah.
because Hank very much like is in disagreement with Bobby again,
Yeah.
and it gets nuts. But I can't wait to get to the episode.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all about Bobby cultural appropriation, cultural appropriating a different culture.
Oh my god.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I feel like this was a fun episode, and moving forward, I can't wait to cover the rest of this season.
Yeah. I agree.
But Jen, where can they find you at?
You can find me at Bard's Tavern on Instagram. You can find me at Manga Restart on Instagram. And of course, you can find me everywhere Otakuology is.
You can reach out to us at Otakuology on Instagram or Blue Sky. Make sure to rate and review the podcast, share the podcast. You can follow us on our YouTube channel, Otakuology. You can find me at The Otaku Mike on YouTube, where I cover all my comic book stuff. And we'll catch you guys on the next episode. Let us know your thoughts on this episode of King of the Hill. We will be back again covering King of the Hill next week. And eventually we'll get back to talking about anime. But we're taking a break right now, and I hope that's okay, because
It's still an anime.
some say King of the Hill is the best anime of all time. Just saying.
Yeah.
Anyways, guys, when will they see us next?
You guys will see us next Tuesday.